Alrighty, y'all, welcome back to another video. And before we get to the good stuff, I do have a couple big announcements. The first incredibly huge announcement is that we now have 2 users on the new Boston.com. Bust out that champagne, baby, bust out that champagne. All right, so yeah, I am one of them, but you know what? Still good, still good. Now, another thing that I wanted to announce is that I know it's only video 2 in the series, but yeah, we're already going to pivot. And instead of our original plan of building out the trading feature, what I decided to do is instead build out a shop feature instead. And the shop feature is going to be similar to what we have in TNBOS. And the reason for this is because the goal of this project is to encourage people to create their own digital currency. Now, right now, there's really no incentive for them to do so. I mean, sure, they can go ahead and trade it for these 2 existing currencies, but even if they have these, there's really nothing you can really do with them aside from use it in TNBOS. However, TNBOS isn't really going to be that useful until we get a much larger network effect going. So just to kind of add a very, I would say a more clear use case, we'll go ahead and almost like recreate this marketplace on the new Boston.com. And this will allow people to sell their goods for really any digital currency of their choosing. And just to give you a real quick overview of this functionality for those who didn't watch the TNBOS video, well, it's pretty simple. You basically have a buy section and a sell section, and a seller can go in the sell section, of course, add their products, and they can choose what core, aka what digital currency they want to sell for and the amount. And then once they have their products listed, they can go ahead and activate it. And this pretty much means take it out of draft mode and make it live on the marketplace. And then you just have a little product section to see everything you're selling. And then from the buyer's perspective, they have, a pretty generic marketplace view, a list of all the beautiful products. They can go ahead and click in one and add it to cart. And then once it's in their cart, they can just go ahead and check out. And in addition to this, they also have an address section where they can add any of their addresses. And then, of course, whenever you're checking out, you can just choose one of those. So I only have one now, so just choose that. And then whenever the buyer places an order, it's going to appear in their orders. And then from the seller's perspective, again, they have this order section as well to see what people have ordered so they can ship those goods. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. And again, right now, this marketplace right here is peer-to-peer. So it doesn't use any backend at all, really just the core to route data back and forth. And I built out a lot of these models already. For example, the product model, so on and so forth, but we're gonna have to make some small adjustments to this just to kind of support kind of like back-end development. For example, right now it's using an image URL, and we're gonna be storing those on our back end. And let me see what other things. Yeah, just some other models here that we aren't really gonna need, that were kind of designed for making sure 2 client devices were in sync when you don't have a backend, but now we have the luxury of having a backend. So yeah, just some small tweaks for that. But that is kind of the gist of what we are gonna be doing. So on that note, another thing that I'm pondering is this. So I already see some conflicts as far as naming goes. For example, we have these trade orders. Remember we talked about in the last video, whenever you place an order to kind of trade 2 currencies with each other, then you have this orders model right here. And these trade orders are going to clash with these shop orders, same naming convention. Also, when I was building out this project, I didn't really look ahead and assume that we're going to be building a shop app. So I structured this kind of not supporting that. I'm now wondering if it's going to be better to change things around. So what I'm thinking about doing is, all right, I'll talk you through each of these packages first. So this API, actually, wait a minute. Let me go ahead and, I have a branch right here. I was adding PyTest. And again, well, I don't think I said this, but this series is going to be a little bit more casual. I have like my tutorials ordered and whatnot, but yeah, it's pretty much just going to be me hacking away at this thing. So don't expect like a structured tutorial series like you might have in a lot of my other series. But either way, let me see what I got so far right here. So I'm on this pull request right now, which was just to add PyTest. And I just want to make sure that this is working before I merge it in. So make run server. All right, so I got my dependency server, and first, before I merge anything, I just want to check for linting issues. And then make test. And this is my PyTest command that I added in this branch. All right. So make sure I'm all synced up, push that up, pull it down, look at my code all around, okay. And then just a quick code review of this, because I actually was working on this last night and then I got a little bit distracted, had to eat dinner and then fell asleep. So let me just make sure here, my make commands, yada yada, PyTest, dependencies. These look good for my PyTest settings. And then to test login, this is my data, testing response code. These are the keys in my response. Expected keys as well, and expected shape. Okay. And then what I have is this fixture right here, API client Bucky. And this is pretty much an authenticated API client it's authenticated by this sample user, Bucky. So when Bucky gets a list of cores, he should get a 200 response, and by default, it's just gonna be empty list. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make 3 cores using this model bakery. And then this is the expected data for each one, response code, JSON equals that, good. And all right. Yeah, this is another thing that I'm doing. So this is the fixture for just your general API client with no authentication whatsoever. And then whenever you want to use an authenticated user in any of your tests, for example, I'm using API client Bucky right here, it just gets an authentication token using this function right here, get access token, and it pretty much just hits your API endpoint or login endpoint and gets a token back. And then it uses the API with those credentials right here. So that's what's going on for the testing. And this I talked about in my Pro Django series, just a little flag so the system can determine when PyTest is running, just because we pull in different settings. This is just some sample sign-in key and account number used for development and testing. You of course don't want to use this you don't want to use this because, everyone has access to it. So you want to generate your own one of those for development, and yeah, looking good. All right. So now let me go ahead and just squash and merge this bad boy in, and then we can get started on probably refactoring. All right, so that's merging. No more issues. And let me see. For some reason, I like to stop my server whenever I merge in a branch. So let's merge into master, pull that down, and then we can delete this. Pull it down again, restart, and it should be good to go. And can close out of this too, and also this one, since we want to work locally. All right, good to go. Actually, let me just make tests real quick, make sure nothing broke. And sweet. Okay, so now that we have this, actually, let me go ahead and pull up the newboston.com again and figure some stuff out. So what I'm probably going to do, I'm kind of just thinking how the UI is going to be structured. And typically what I would do if I was working with a team is this is the point in time where you want to write out all your business requirements. And then after that, I would probably start wireframing in what I like Lucidchart is a tool, and then discuss it with, product manager, so on and so forth. However, since I am the lead developer and lead designer and product manager all in one, I have a little bit more freedom to kind of do everything myself. So what I'm doing right now is kind of just going through and thinking how I want to structure this. So the cores, so again, the goal of this is to pretty much merge this entire shop application into this new Boston website. So we are still going to have this cores because that's applicable to both the trade and shop. Basically, what digital currencies do you want to use? Wallets, we don't need to do anything here because that's also going to be applicable to both. And then for this trading, what I'm thinking about doing is pretty much having cores, wallets, trade, and shop. And then I'm going to take these orders, which are your trade orders, and somehow move them under here. And then this tab right here, which will become shop, this will have its own nested orders. And I think that like visual hierarchy of everything would be all right. So now the question is, how do I merge orders in here? What I'm thinking about doing, you know what I could do? I could rename this tab to exchange and then kind of have a system like this where I have like two different, well, pretty much a menu bar on the top somehow, and like one button says trade and one button says orders. So basically taking these two and moving them to a top navigation item, and then I think that will be good. Let me just think about this for another second. Yeah, I think that's good. Now, let me make a front end ticket to this to start organizing things. So I'm gonna say for the new Boston front end, I'm gonna make a new issue. And so I guess this video will pretty much just be preparation for what we're gonna do or for this future migration. But probably, I don't even know if we're gonna get to the shop app at all. But yeah, let me just do this. So and I'll say to do, and I'll have a little checklist. All right, so to prepare this, the first thing that I'm gonna do is rename the trade, what am I calling this? The trade page to exchange. And I'll say URL as well, because right now this is in trade URL and I want to change that as well. And then I'll say create a top toolbar for the new exchange section. And then after that, I'm gonna nest the existing trade and orders pages under the new exchange section. And also, once that's done, I'm gonna be creating a new shop section here, but I think I want to do that in another ticket. Yeah, since this is kind of just like preparation. Also, if I do it in this ticket, then I'm just gonna have like an empty shop page. And I always like to, whenever I complete a ticket, like have it be a point where you have like a working application still, not like a half-baked feature. So I think that this is good for right now. let me go ahead and submit that. And now let me go ahead and figure out what I need to do on the back end to prep for this. Actually, I can steal that same title. Prepare for shop feature. All right, so on the back end, what are we gonna do? So this API right here, this isn't a Django app, it's just a package. This is for connecting, basically your functionality for connecting to the different cores. Authentication, this is of course all of the login stuff. Cores, this stays the same. These are pretty much your different digital currencies. General, this is just a bunch of general utility functions, so on and so forth. Invitations is for that invitations logic that we're going to be replacing. Now orders, this is likely what's going to change. So this app, I don't want to have as a top level app anymore because I want to nest this, or I want to move this logic under, should I call it exchange or trade? Probably go with exchange, since that way my Django applications kind of match up with my UI. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say to do, and I'll say create a new exchange app, and then I would say move order logic into that app. Actually, is this a good name for it? So what I usually like to do is for my Django application naming conventions, I like to keep them plural whenever I can. See cores, invitations, orders. And then for my, I want to say like my most important model, if that makes sense, is usually just a singular version of this app. So under orders, your like most important model is order. So that's why you get that. Same thing with invitations. You can see invitation, cores, well, you get the point. But this was recommended by 2 Scoops of Django, and I just really like it for all my projects. All right, now let me look at this. So this is interesting as well. And let me point something else out. So right now, a transfer in the app is basically this. So whenever you go to your wallet and you make a deposit or withdraw, then what happens is, let me actually pull this up. Where are you at? Lose the chart right there. Okay, so system overview, check it out. So right now, a transfer is basically a movement of coins from, well, basically a deposit or withdraw. And what I'm thinking of doing in the future, and I wonder if I should do this now or if it's just too much, but I kind of want 2 different versions of a transfer. One acts like more of a wire whenever I'm, how should I say this? It's almost like an external transfer where I'm taking something from a core and moving it to the exchange account. Now an internal transfer is just, and I'll show you what's going on right here. So the other type of transfer that I don't have yet, but if you see this wallet object, then once those coins are kind of deposited to the exchange, I would say, then whenever a trade happens, for example, someone trades TNB for VTX, that trade, it never actually hits these external cores. So basically you're on a credit system until the point where you deposit or withdraw. So in that sense, I'm thinking I was thinking of naming this like external transfer and then these internal transfers, but I'm also reconsidering renaming these to wire, kind of like when you wire funds between a bank. It's like two separate banks, and then a transfer could be kind of more internal. But either way, I think that's a little bit too much. See, this is the debate. Do I do it now, knowing that I'm like 90% gonna build out this logic in the future, or do I not? So this, again, is most likely going to be renamed. You know what? I think I'm going to just rename this transfer to wire right now. Kind of to future-proof everything. Yeah. So anyways, just to recap real quick. So I'm going to rename transfer to wire. Let me put this in here as well. So a wire is pretty much going to be any of these deposits or withdrawals. And then a transfer is, we're going to have this functionality later on, but let's say that there is just another user on thenewboston.com and you just want to kind of move your balance over from your wallet to their wallet. Again, that's not going to require hitting any of these cores since those coins are already just on a credit system. So I'll call that a transfer. And we'll build those out later, but for right now, we'll just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so getting back to our shuffle, orders is going to be nested under exchange, an exchange app that we're going to build. And then these transfers are going to become a wire. I'll say rename transfers app to wires. And I'll say move wires logic into the exchange app. Okay. So then the exchange app, let me kind of scope this out. So the exchange app is going to have orders and wires. And that will encompass these objects and these objects. I think that makes sense. Okay. So then this final structure is going to be API top level, that's good. Authentication top level, that's good. Cores top level, general invitations top level. Orders are going to be nested. Transfers renamed to wires, those are nested. Project is good. These are just like my project settings. Top level, that's good. Then users and wallets want these top level as well. All right. So on that note, where should I begin? So let me actually go ahead and pull up, get rid of this. I like to keep things nice and clean. Exchange. All right. So this is all pretty much my prep work before we even get to the shop. And I'm just thinking now whether I want to start on the front end or the back end. So actually, I probably need to submit both these tickets together. They're going to be pretty honking tonkin tickets. Actually, maybe I'll just do the front end first because this is all, yeah, it's probably going to be easier. Okay, so my plan is to do the front end first, which is pretty much restructure these two sections unify them under the Exchange section. And then once I have that done and taken care of, since that's all like visual stuff, you don't really need to mess with the back end. Then what I'm going to be doing is completing this backend ticket, and this is going to require renaming of some models. So whenever I do this, that's going to require another front end update as well. So I'll make a separate ticket. Actually, I can make that right now. Front end changes right to this ticket right here. All right, so anyways, to recap, and I'll actually submit this video and you can tell me if this is a good game plan before I get started. But anyways, this is what I'm gonna work on first, prepare all the UI shop features, and then I'm gonna work on this ticket and this ticket together since I need to merge those in at the same time. And then once we have all of that prepared, we should have our structure really ready to go and yeah, ready just to build the shop app out from there. So yeah, let me actually upload this video to YouTube, because what I want to do, another thing in this series, is I want to kind of get everyone's feedback before I go too far ahead and I have to kind of revert if someone has like a better idea on how to do things. So anyways, that's my game plan for now. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, hopefully get started on this soon. So yeah, see you next time.